Hi, this is Chris Haughey. Welcome to my studio. And I am going to share with you today a brand new brush that I have just created and designed, and it is now available for sale. This is my 1/8 inch awesome angle, and there's a little bit of a story behind this. I like to paint smaller ornaments. I'm not real crazy about fussy detail, but I think it's very important to create detail that looks like you spent a lot of time. And the key element to creating really intensive looking detail is having the proper tools. An 1/8 inch angle is critical to this fine little detail that makes such a huge difference. And I've struggled with trying to find just the right brush, and I came up with this great idea. Why not create a brush of my own? So I took my ideas and had this brush created, and I am beyond thrilled. This has been such a great help to painting, and I'm just really excited with all the different aspects of this little brush. Now, one of the things that I really thought was very important was to find a brush that had longer bristles on it. And you can see, let me get a little closer here, you can see how long these bristles are. The reason for that, when you are floating, it doesn't matter what size brush you're using. If you have little short tiny bristles, you're very limited to the amount of paint that you can load on your brush, and that in turn limits you to the length of the stroke that you're able to take with just one load. And the longer you can float a stroke, the smoother it's going to be and the better it's going to look. So I have a couple brushes. I've tried different brands, and I wanted to share some of the different things, different brands. And these are all high quality, well-known brands. I covered the handles because you know, this is what's on the market and this is what was available. And you can tell the difference. This little brush, see the difference in the length of the bristles? Let me just... Okay, this is my awesome angle, the red handled brush, and the one with the blue tape on it is another well-known brand. But see how short and stubby those are. It's a nice little brush, but you're going to constantly have to load and reload to create that nice shaded look. Here's another one that I thought was pretty nice, but this one also, look how tiny it is. You're just not going to get much of a stroke out of that. This other one I just really liked. I like the length of it, and you can see it's very similar, but check out the chisel edge. Boy, this one just frayed out in no time at all. And so I spent my time just getting new brushes constantly. See how fuzzy that is? Oh my goodness. And everyone knows if you don't have a nice sharp chisel end, you're going to struggle with your strokes. You need those nice tight tips on there, because otherwise you're constantly dealing with that little bit of bristle that sticks out and drives you crazy. In addition to having the nice length of the brush, I also wanted to make sure that I had a good sharp angle on it. When I paint, I like to use the toe of my brush to really get into those little tiny areas, and that point is very important to me. To be able to get these nice little strokes and just add a little touch of paint here and there. So the nice sharp angle gives me a lot of versatility with the brush. I can get down on the toe and I can work just a small area with the toe. If this side of the brush is clean, I can flip it over and clean with the other side. So having this sharp angle not only aids in a nice even long float, but also it has these other qualities that make it just a really handy tool to have. I wanted to make sure that the brush was not going to fray out and get fluffy. So the ferrule has been crimped really, really tight so that the bristles are going to keep tight here at the bottom. Now, you all know brush care, so if you get paint down in the ferrule and let it dry, yeah, it's gonna splay out after a period of time. So good brush care, this little brush will last a very, very long time. I've been using my brush, just the initial prototype, for about 6 months now, and it still looks, well, actually I have it here, it's a different color. But this was my prototype. It doesn't look a whole lot different than the brand new brush on the right. So I've been using this one for about 6 months, hot and heavy. And you can see the one on the right's just a little bit sharper. It still has the sizing on it, so it's not even been in the water yet, but still a nice, sharp, tight little brush. I wanted to make sure that the bristles were nice and durable. This is a synthetic golden Taklon. It's a triple filament bristle, and it's going to have a lot of life to it. It's going to be very durable, has a lot of bounce and play in it as well. So you can really work this brush and get a lot of good strokes out of it, and it's going to last a long time. Another benefit to this brush, it not only works well for acrylics, it's going to work well for watercolors as well as oils. So you're going to get a lot of usage out of this my awesome angle. I wanted to share some of the ways that I use this little brush. For example, on this little guy, just shading down his legs, I can go ahead and do both of his legs just with one stroke. His coat, you can see how easy that is to float. Just pull that along. Even these little mittens, oh my goodness, look, just kind of working that toe. Just very, very easy to add those details. This is a new pattern I just did. Look at all those small details. And it was really not hard at all to do with this little brush. What a huge difference. I really struggled because the 1/8 inch brushes that I had before were not sufficient, so I had to kind of lean toward a 1/4 inch angle. With this little awesome angle of mine, oh my goodness, I can really crank out these shades and floats and highlights in no time at all. And you know, on the ground and the bigger areas, of course, I'm going to switch over to a larger angle, but you just get so much better control. Little floats on the cheek, how easy is that? And these are really small little figures. Let me zoom out a little bit so you get an idea of what we're talking about here. You can see how tiny these really are and how nice it is to have that small brush just to drop in those shades just very quickly and very easily. Another one is ornaments. Now for the larger areas, again, I'll stick with my larger angles, but look at these little eyeballs. Okay, I zoomed in on those little eyeballs, but I always think when you do faces, a little bit of detail makes such a huge difference. So I just kind of put a little bit of a float on each of the eyes. Look, even here under the eyebrows, along the bottom edge of the eyebrows, and how easy is that to float his little nose. This brush is awesome. Just these small little details you don't have to struggle with anymore. You can see how that fits so easily right in those little areas. This is out of my new book, Following 3, and I had so much fun with this. But again, it has some small areas, and with this little brush, check out the frog. Let me zoom in again. We'll kind of scoot over here to the frog. His little finger, the top of his shoulders, even right around his little face, just to put a little bit of a float on there. So super easy. The basket on the bicycle, easy. Again, the little floats on the eye. It's just so nice to be able to have a brush that fits what you're working on very easily. This is another little ornament that I worked on. Just that little bit of float down the birch trees. There's not much to the reindeer. He is pretty much the color of the background. I just went in and added a little bit of shading and highlighting to create the shape of the deer. But with this brush, can you see how easy that is to kind of float that in there and create it very easily? Super good control. You'll never have to worry about getting out of the lines with the brush, because you can see exactly what you're doing. And oftentimes with a bigger brush, when you're working in a small area, the other side kind of messes up. You know, when you're doing this ear, if you accidentally get it into that ear, you have a problem, and this eliminates all of that. This was a little seahorse that I did, and again, he has a little tiny eye, which was so easy to work with the little brush. The small floats down his fin, just super quick and easy with this brush. So you can see what an asset it is to have an awesome angle when you're working with small areas. Now, this isn't going to be one that you'll use for everything, but when you want to get down into those tiny areas to just drop in just a little bit of shading and highlight, this is so perfect. This is, again, my new angle, Chris's awesome 1/8 inch angle. It's available exclusively at Covert Distributing. This brush makes strokes so easy to implement. The results are amazing, or maybe I should say awesome. This brush has definitely exceeded my expectations. It's taken the drudgery out of painting all the small details, and I'm just so excited to be able to share it with everyone. I want to thank you for joining me, and be sure to check out this little brush. It's at Covert Distributing, www.cdwood.com. If you are looking for a number, it's item number 03-925-1/8, and that's for the 925 series 1/8 inch awesome angle. I want to thank you for joining me. I think that's about it for now. It's time for me to get busy and start using my awesome angle.